Computer shopping has never been better at RadioShack.
RadioShack has the selection you want, plus the personal service and support you deserve.
Here's an exciting RadioShack gift idea. Space Patrol walkie-talkie.
RadioShack once sold everything from the earliest personal computers to the components that powered space missions. It was a tech empire that fueled innovation and captured the imagination of countless inventors and hobbyists. So, how did a company with such a legacy fall apart? Join us as we uncover the true story of what really happened to RadioShack.
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. RadioShack's revolutionary Model 100 computer.
In 1921, in the bustling heart of Boston, Massachusetts, two brothers, Theodore and Milton Dutchman, embarked on a groundbreaking venture that would shape the future of consumer electronics. Their passion for amateur radio, a growing hobby then, led them to open a small retail and mail order store named RadioShack. The term RadioShack referred to a quaint wooden structure that housed a ship's radio equipment, a fitting name for a store dedicated to serving maritime radio officers and enthusiastic ham radio operators. The Dutchman brothers were visionaries, eager to provide the essential tools and equipment for a community that was growing rapidly with the advancements in radio technology. As ham radio gained popularity, their store became a hub for amateur radio enthusiasts, supplying everything from transceivers to antennas. The brothers' commitment to quality and service quickly established RadioShack as a trusted name. In the early 1940s, RadioShack took a significant step forward by issuing its first catalog. This catalog became a critical resource for customers, showcasing the latest innovations in radio technology and offering a wide range of products. The timing was perfect, as the nation was engrossed in World War II and communication technology was becoming increasingly vital. As the war progressed, the demand for radio equipment surged, allowing RadioShack to solidify its presence in the market.
Computer shopping has never been better at RadioShack. Here's proof. Our new ultra-high-performance 386SX 20 MHz computer with 85 megabyte hard drive, only $12.99.
As the post-war era dawned, the Dutchman brothers saw an opportunity to expand beyond amateur radio. They entered the high-fidelity music market, catering to a growing consumer base eager to enjoy superior sound quality at home. This expansion was met with enthusiasm, and RadioShack continued to thrive. In 1954, the company started selling its private label products under the Realist brand. However, this move came with challenges. After facing legal issues that necessitated a name change, the brand was rebranded as Realistic. This new identity allowed RadioShack to offer a wide array of audio equipment, further establishing its reputation for quality. By the 1960s, RadioShack had expanded to 9 stores and built a robust mail-order business, becoming a familiar name across America. However, this period also marked a turning point as the company faced several hardships. The retail landscape was shifting and competition intensified. The brothers grappled with changing consumer preferences and economic pressures threatening their once thriving business.
Oh, please.
All right.
A new generation of affordable cellular phones at an incredible price breakthrough from RadioShack, the technology store.
In the early 60s, Tandy Corporation, primarily known for its leather goods, sought new avenues to expand its business. Under the visionary leadership of Charles D. Tandy, the company set its sights on RadioShack, a struggling retail chain on the brink of bankruptcy. In 1962, Tandy made a bold move, acquiring RadioShack for just $300,000. This decision would prove pivotal, transforming Tandy and RadioShack into key players in the burgeoning consumer electronics market. At the time of the acquisition, RadioShack was facing significant challenges. Its existing business model, which heavily relied on a large mail-order operation and a limited selection of electronics, was no longer viable. Tandy recognized the untapped potential in the retail electronics sector, particularly among hobbyists eager for affordable, accessible products. He envisioned a new RadioShack that catered to the needs of tech enthusiasts and DIYers rather than the average consumer. Tandy implemented a radical strategy, shifting the focus from large, less efficient stores to smaller, more manageable locations. He drastically reduced the product offerings from a staggering 40,000 items to just 2,500, honing in on the essential products representing 80% of sales. This move streamlined operations and allowed for more effective inventory management.
Treat every customer like they're special.
With all those products out there, you have to know what you're talking about. And Radio Shack, they do.
The emphasis on private label brands from cost-effective manufacturers meant higher profit margins and less reliance on established name brands. Tandy's approach favored quality and affordability, positioning Radio Shack as the go-to destination for hobbyist and tech-savvy customers. In this new framework, Tandy closed the unprofitable mail-order division and eliminated many upper management positions, retaining only the crucial sales and marketing staff. He understood that the heart of the business lay in its stores and the knowledge of its employees. Radio Shack became a community hub for electronics enthusiasts by creating small, well-staffed locations. Store managers were incentivized to invest in their stores by taking ownership stakes, fostering a sense of accountability and commitment to profitability. Tandy also used customer data from the former mail-order operations to strategically locate new stores. This data-driven approach allowed Radio Shack to target markets with a demonstrated interest in electronics, ensuring that each new location had the potential for success. In smaller markets that could not support a company-owned store, Tandy allowed independent dealers to carry Radio Shack products, further expanding the brand's reach without the overhead cost of corporate stores. This innovative retail strategy appealed to a specific demographic, customers looking for affordable products they could modify and enhance. Tandy famously stated that they were not targeting those wanting to splurge on high-end sound systems, but those eager to save money and invest their time improving their purchases. This resonated with a generation of nerds and building engineers, many of whom would go on to shape the future of technology.
Look, we can save $300 on this Tandy 1000 computer. It's PC compatible and only $399. With color monitor, it's $699.
The kids would love this for Christmas.
During the vibrant 1970s and 80s, Radio Shack transformed from a niche electronics retailer into a cultural icon, becoming a household name across America. By 1978, the company had grown to over 4,600 stores strategically positioned in neighborhoods, shopping malls, and town centers. This remarkable growth was fueled by a unique business strategy centered on two-way and citizens band radios, wildly popular during that era. Radio Shack stores were a treasure trove for electronic enthusiasts and casual customers. They offered everything from small electronic components to batteries and accessories. One of their standout promotions was the Battery of the Month Club, which attracted customers with a promise of free batteries monthly. This initiative increased foot traffic and allowed Radio Shack to gather valuable customer data, fostering a connection with their clientele. A pivotal moment for Radio Shack came in 1982 with the breakup of the Bell system, which ended the long-standing monopoly over telephone services. This landmark change encouraged consumers to purchase their phones rather than renting them from the phone company. Recognizing this shift, Radio Shack swiftly expanded its inventory to include a wide range of landline phones. This strategic pivot proved to be a game changer, greatly enhancing their sales and establishing the store as a go-to destination for telecommunication needs.
We're so much more than just a store. Radio Shack.
Throughout the mid-'80s, Radio Shack diversified its offerings further, introducing a variety of audio and video equipment. By 1986, the company began its foray into international markets under entertainment. This expansion effort paid off. By 1990, Radio Shack boasted around 14,000 stores worldwide, each adapting to local markets while maintaining the core values of customer service and innovation. As the 1990s dawned, Radio Shack's parent company, Tandy Corporation, became one of the largest computer manufacturers in the U.S. They began producing hardware, software, cables, and electronic components. Their partnership with Panasonic further solidified their position as a major player in the burgeoning electronics market. This era of self-manufacturing allowed Radio Shack to offer a diverse range of products, making it an indispensable resource for hobbyists, technicians, and everyday consumers. The acquisition of Computer City in 1991 marked another significant milestone, expanding its footprint in the competitive computer retail sector. Radio Shack was not just a store, but a community hub for tech enthusiasts and a vital resource for those navigating the rapidly evolving consumer electronics landscape.
From affordable family computers to exciting multimedia PCs, Radio Shack has the selection you want, plus the personal service and support you deserve.
Radio Shack's story decline is a tale of missed opportunities and strategic missteps that transformed a once revered retail giant into a shadow of its former self. One of Radio Shack's most significant blunders was its over-reliance on physical stores. While competitors like Best Buy and Amazon embraced the burgeoning online retail market, Radio Shack lagged, clinging to its brick-and-mortar sales model. Even though Radio Shack launched its official website in 1999, the company needed help to effectively utilize it as a platform for online sales. Instead of capitalizing on the growing e-commerce trend, Radio Shack missed valuable opportunities to connect with customers through digital channels.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
I just found the greatest present for Mom and Dad. I'm trying it out right now.
The company also discontinued its in-house realistic brand in favor of more widely recognized brands like Radio Corporation of America or RCA. While this decision allowed for a broader product selection, it also increased prices, straying from Radio Shack's original mission to provide affordable electronics. Compounding this issue was Radio Shack's inconsistent inventory management. Frequent customer complaints about the need for more available products drove potential buyers away, diminishing their likelihood of returning. While the company attempted to adapt in the early 2000s by pivoting towards cell phone sales and accessories, this strategy ultimately proved to be a double-edged sword. At one point, cell phones accounted for approximately 50% of Radio Shack's total sales, presenting a significant risk due to high product concentration. The landscape began to shift dramatically with the launch of the iPhone in 2007. As sales channels transitioned towards direct purchases through wireless carriers, many service providers slashed payments to retailers like Radio Shack. This decision, driven by the escalating cost of subsidizing popular smartphones, threatened to undermine Radio Shack's profitability. Despite its long history and resources, Radio Shack's unwillingness to fully embrace e-commerce and adapt to changing consumer habits made it vulnerable. This reluctance set the company on a difficult path, ultimately threatening its survival in the consumer electronics market.
Hey, Radio Shack's having a great sale.
Everyone's having a sale.
Oh yeah, listen to this. Radio Shack's $49.95 microcassette recorders, just $33.88.
In the early 2000s, Radio Shack faced a pivotal shift. The company, known for selling electronic gadgets and components, decided to focus heavily on selling cell phone plans for major carriers like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. This partnership allowed Radio Shack to earn commissions on every phone plan sold, leading to significant revenue from the lucrative lifetime value of wireless customers. Radio Shack's new strategy mirrored a store-within-a-store model, with sections dedicated to these wireless carriers. Every phone sold came with a healthy commission, creating a new revenue stream for the company. With mobile plans often valued at thousands of dollars over their lifetime, the move appeared to be a financial boost at the time. Simultaneously, Radio Shack launched an initiative to improve the performance of its stores. It evaluated its 5,000 locations, targeting the bottom 1,500 underperforming store managers. The company warned these managers that they would face demotion or termination if they didn't improve their store's performance within 90 days.
Over 7,000 locations. The company, Handy Corporation, America's technology answer.
Over 1,700 managers were let go or moved into lower roles, creating a fiercely competitive environment among employees. While the pressure resulted in temporary gains, the corporate culture took a hit, breeding distrust and insecurity among staff. For a time, this aggressive strategy seemed successful. By 2005, Radio Shack reached a revenue peak of $5 billion, but the cracks began to show beneath that surface. The company's net profit was a mere $267 million, which left it with only a 5% profit margin. While revenue was high, the slim margins hinted at challenges. One of the major issues with Radio Shack's phone selling strategy was its lack of differentiation. The stores were essentially intermediaries, offering phone plans from the carriers, but not offering anything unique themselves. They had no control over pricing, so they couldn't compete with the deals customers could find directly on the carrier's website. As online shopping surged, customers' need to visit RadioShack diminished. The ease of buying directly from carriers or other online retailers undercut RadioShack's commissions and left them without a competitive edge.
George, the Sprint store at Radio Shack was a great idea for holiday shopping. I could get a mobile phone for Judy, a pager for Elroy, and for you too, Astro.
As the company's fortunes declined after 2005, it became clear that their strategy had left them vulnerable. Revenue and profitability steadily dropped, and the constant turnover in management compounded their issues. Between 2005 and 2014, RadioShack went through 7 different CEOs, creating instability at the top that prevented the company from charting a clear course outside of its troubles. By 2012, RadioShack was posting negative earnings. To stay afloat, the company secured a $585 million line of credit from GE Capital in 2013, alongside a $250 million loan from Salus. However, these financial lifelines came with strict conditions, such as limits on how many stores they could close annually. When RadioShack tried shutting underperforming locations to save cash, Salus blocked the move, citing concerns about the company's long-term viability. RadioShack's failure to turn things around culminated in a disastrous holiday season in 2014-2015, and with cash burn accelerating, the company finally filed for bankruptcy in 2015.
Here's an exciting RadioShack gift idea. Space Patrol walkie-talkies. Christmas favorite for over 15 years.
After filing for bankruptcy in 2015, RadioShack shut down most of its stores, leaving only 1,700 locations. These stores were co-branded with Sprint in a last-ditch effort to keep the brand alive. This partnership with Sprint turned RadioShack into a mobile phone retailer with only a limited selection of electronics in the stores. The iconic shelves, once brimming with cables, components, and gadgets for tech enthusiasts, were now reduced to a sparse collection of peripherals, overshadowed by Sprint's dominant presence. RadioShack had become little more than an accessory to Sprint, losing much of its identity and consumer appeal. Despite this attempt at revitalization, the downward spiral continued. By 2017, just 2 years after the initial bankruptcy, RadioShack filed for bankruptcy again. This time, the decision was made to liquidate nearly all the remaining stores, closing down a vast majority and leaving only a few operational. As the company teetered on the brink, the morale of the remaining workforce reached an all-time low. In the aftermath, RadioShack shifted its focus primarily to e-commerce. The company maintained a digital presence through its website, selling headphones, batteries, radios, electric parts, and even branded apparel. However, the competition was fierce, and customers could often find cheaper alternatives on platforms like Amazon and Walmart.
How about this cordless phone for your sister? She'd love this. What do you think, hon?
RadioShack's ability to thrive in this new digital landscape seemed tenuous at best. In November of 2020, a glimmer of hope emerged when Tai Lopez's company Retail E-Commerce Ventures, or REV, acquired RadioShack's brand name and e-commerce operations. The purchase price was not disclosed, but it marked another attempt at reviving a business that had been in a freefall. Lopez's company had a track record of acquiring struggling retail brands such as Pier 1 Imports, Dress Barn, and Linens and Things, intending to rejuvenate their e-commerce presence. Under Lopez's ownership, RadioShack's product offerings remained largely unchanged, though there were cross-promotions with other REV-owned brands and programs like MentorBox. The primary challenge for the new RadioShack lies in competing with industry giants like Amazon and Walmart, whose vast logistics networks and price competitiveness make it difficult for smaller players to succeed. Despite these efforts, the brand has yet to regain its former stature. The internet, which RadioShack was slow to embrace, presents a formidable challenge. While many retailers have been building their e-commerce capabilities for years, RadioShack's delayed entry into the online world hampered its ability to stay relevant. Whether the once iconic brand can make a meaningful comeback remains to be seen, but it continues to navigate a digital world far removed from its retail glory days.
What's in the bag, Howie?
Just some cool new stuff I got at RadioShack. I love the changes they're making.
Legacy and nostalgia are deeply intertwined when we think of Radio Shack. For generations, it wasn't just a store. It was a gateway to a world of endless possibilities. In an era when personal electronics were just beginning to make their mark, Radio Shack stood as the go-to destination for dreamers, tinkerers, and hobbyists. It wasn't simply about purchasing gadgets, but about igniting the imagination. The brand's legacy is rooted in its ability to democratize technology, giving ordinary people the tools to understand, create, and explore. Walking into a Radio Shack store meant entering a space where innovation was at your fingertips. Shelves filled with transistors, circuit boards, and other components beckoned the curious. Whether building your first radio or repairing a broken device, Radio Shack provided hands-on experience with technology that felt personal and empowering.
People have big plans after school. You know what Elliot's going to do? Jeff, too. Elliot's at work on a book report using Scripsit on Radio Shack's Color Computer 3.
For many, the store represented a time when you didn't just consume technology, you engaged with it, learned from it, and made it your own. The very act of visiting Radio Shack became a ritual, one that fostered creativity and a deeper appreciation for how things worked. The sense of community that Radio Shack cultivated was also part of its enduring appeal. It wasn't just a commercial space, it was where like-minded individuals gathered to exchange ideas and advice. In a world before the internet, Radio Shack filled the role of tech mentor, offering guidance to its staff and product manuals. It embodied a DIY spirit that still resonates strongly with the nostalgia of a time when technology was still somewhat of a mystery, a puzzle to be solved piece by piece. Even today, the memory of Radio Shack stirs a powerful sense of longing. It recalls a simpler era of tech in which discovery was as important as the device itself. The joy of flipping through its catalogs remains vivid for many, a nostalgic rush of excitement as new products, from stereos to early computers, leaped off the pages. These catalogs were more than a list of products. They were a reflection of the technological aspirations of an entire generation. The careful curation of each edition mirrored the progression of tech, and for many, it was their first introduction to the future. Even though the original chain has faded, some independent Radio Shack franchises have reemerged. These stores evoke a sense of nostalgia, not only for the products they sell, but for the experiences they recreate. They serve as living reminders of the brand's unique ability to connect people with technology in a tangible way. Today, as technology becomes more remote and abstract, these small franchises are a beacon to a bygone era when understanding tech meant getting your hands dirty. The revival of these stores is a testament to Radio Shack's lasting value in the hearts of electronics enthusiasts, hobbyists, and anyone who ever dared to dream of what they could build next.